Yeah, it's a Newswatch. Have you noticed how journalists on the left, when they call for more diversity, don't actually mean the diversity that counts, not diversity of opinion. They just want a brown person to say exactly what their white bosses want. And I'll give you an example. Now, the ABC doesn't have a single Conservative anywhere presenting a prominent current affairs or news show, not one in a country that keeps voting in Liberal governments. It's amazing. The only diversity the ABC chairman Ita Buttrose and her managers say they want from their staff is different skin colours. And this came to a head Sunday a week ago when the ABC's Insiders program got 3 whites to talk about the race protests, which meant presenter David Speers had to do a humiliating communist-style self-criticism last Sunday.
We received plenty of valid criticism for failing to include an Indigenous journalist on last week's show as we discussed the Black Lives Matter movement. Our panellists made some excellent points, but as a program, we lacked an important perspective. Insiders does need to do a better job at bringing more diverse insights into the political debate.
Come back to Sky, David. It's not a snake pit like that ABC. Anyway, Speers got on an ABC journalist then who identifies as Aboriginal, very useful then, and claims to know, she does, what it's like to be discriminated against like no white person ever could.
It's not good enough anymore, particularly at this moment, but I would say any week, to have a panel of white people speaking about issues when there is very little lived experience of discrimination and racism on that panel.
But here's the curious thing. With all her supposed suffering from racism, this ABC journalist, Bridget Brennan, said exactly the same standard stuff of the left that the 3 white journalists have said the week before. See for yourself. Here's Brennan last Sunday.
They were there for much more serious issues. They're there to talk about systemic racism. We have to have a much more sophisticated view of all the issues we need to deal with in this country, including place names, including the legacy of statues, including the way that we memorialise and celebrate some of our Indigenous heroes in this country. We can look forward as well as correcting some of the deep inequalities in this country. We can be a mature nation to do that. And I think that's what the Royal Commission into Black Deaths in Custody all those years ago understood. It understood the legacy of history on those people's lives. It understood the role of the media, the role of systemic racism in healthcare and education. So we need to look at all of these issues. You cannot deal with the gross and obscene over-incarceration of our people if you don't speak about the legacy of history.
Wow, what a harangue. But here are the 3 white leftists the week before saying exactly the same. Deaths in custody, systemic racism, is all white racism, terrible history, blah, blah, blah. Have a look.
The problem clearly is the incarceration rate, the fact that they are there at all. It is way out of whack with their representation in the overall population.
It is a stain on our nation.
It's a protest about an issue here that's hugely important, needs to be raised. With all those deaths in custody and a long history of racism.
Look, I largely agree with both Patricia and David.
Of course they do. Of course they do. They all agree with each other over there. Joining me is Gerard Henderson, columnist for The Australian, head of the Sydney Institute and author of the Media Watchdog blog. Gerard, you alerted me to this. Did you notice any difference in the message between a white leftist and an Aboriginal one?